We are here at the camper remodel where we have much to do. And we got this phony, like shelf papery looking stuff stuck to the somewhat decent plywood. So I'm going to remove that, and rather than try to tear that into little itty bitty strips like I think somebody else tried to do, we are going to use Mr. Heat Gun here, and it does a fantastic job. Also, if all you have is just a few little wrinkles, you can hit that with the heat gun. Wrinkles going away, they're disappearing, and they're gone. Yay! But we're going to use it for a different technique, which is soften this stuff up so we can pull it off. I got this nasty spot here of delaminating plywood, and so I mixed up some rock hard putty, and I put it on pretty wet so that it would run in like underneath, and try to seal that so I can sand it down flat. So I've never tried this before, but drywall mud, not a good idea because of the moisture. So rock hard putty is waterproof when it dries. So we're going to give this a whirl and see if it works. So basically just mixed it up to about a little bit thinner than the consistency of drywall mud. Spread it on there. It cures up pretty fast. Hit it with the heat gun where I needed to stiffen it up. So I got the first coat on there, and I can come back later and mix up some more and keep putting it on there till it's flat, and then I can sand it down. I decided to try something I hadn't tried before. I got some Drylok Extreme, and it's a pretty thick product. It's also supposed to be completely weatherproof, and it's actually supposed to be able to hold hydraulic pressure so you could like paint the inside of a swimming pool and stuff with it. So we're trying it on this, and it's thick enough to cover up a lot of my nasties. So I'm just layering it on there, putting it on with a paintbrush, and then just painting all different directions so that it adds a texture to the wall as I'm going. And it seems like it stain blocks pretty good, and it's supposed to be mold and mildew resistant and all that kind of stuff. So you can see I got a little bit of bleed through back there where it was really dark and stuff, but you can see what I started with. So it seems like it's doing a pretty decent job, way better than paint. So we're gonna keep going on this and cover this wall up, because the more I get done, the better it looks in here, and the better it looks in here, the more I want to do. So it's mainly a psychological thing, even though it's not exactly doing things in the exact right order of what I should do. And then I can also always come back and I can put FRP over the top of this if I want to, just to dress it up a little bit more. But I haven't 100% decided if that's what I'm doing. I mainly just need to seal the wood to keep the dang moisture out of here, and keep the mold where on the other side of the living space. So there it is. Picked a nice day, weather's good to come up here on the camper and scrub this down so I can clean it. And it looks like somebody had already tried, but we're gonna put some Flex Seal on here. So right now I've got some trisodium phosphate in a bucket and a couple little drops of dish soap, and we're going to see how far I get with this brush. I got the more aggressive brush if I think I need it, and water nozzle to wet things down or rinse it off. So we're going to see how far we get. I am super glad they ran out of material or whatever happened and they stopped, because most of this stuff needs to come off, and it's just like the old sealer stuff they put on there is coming off of there, and it looked like this underneath until I scrubbed it, and it still needs a bunch of scrubbing. But you can see what the issue is. If you don't clean this and you just try to seal over the top of that, all this stuff is breaking loose, and it's not going to bond. So anyway, that's why I'm trying to get this as clean as possible here. All right, rarely do I find a product that actually works, but this 30-second outdoor cleaner, algae, mold, mildew stuff is supposed to be safe for plants and all that. You can see the spot that I got wet, and it is literally just pretty much just taking it right off. So a little bit of scrubbing, not much. I scrubbed this area over here like severely, and this I'm just brushing it on and brushing it off, and it's coming off of there. The color looks a little different through the camera, but trust me, it is coming off. Oh, and you can see the splatter marks over there from where the stuff splattered. So that indicates that it's working. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this crud off of here real quick before it gets dark on me. Hopefully this gives you a fairly good after picture of using that cleaner. I got a mess here, so just trying to get this old one apart and I'm gonna have to clean all the stuff around it again and do a bunch of sealing. And I ended up using up some of the old roof patch to fill that big hole in because there wasn't any rubber there. So I figured I'd lap the edges and then squish some of the stuff up underneath it and lay it back down flat, so at least I've got something I can, something a little bit flatter that I can make a seal with. And I gotta redo that roof vent, this roof vent. Eventually I'll replace that one, but the second roof vent I bought is somebody hooked it up and fried the board on it before I bought it, so it's not functional. So anyways, I'm gonna give this thing a whirl, trying to get this thing off of here and hopefully get things sealed back up again. I'm tearing off all this old sealant, getting that all cleaned up, taking all these screws out. I've got some that are stripped, so I'm gonna have to either grind the heads of it off or get a hold of it with a pair of vice grips or something. But they're just falling apart. So anyway, I'm gonna keep working on that. We got a few rips and things to contend with, so fun. The old roof vent is off, and man, it took a lot to get it. But anyways, I had to kind of peel one corner up and break it off in order to get a hold of it so that I could hold the rubber down and continue to peel it all the way around the edge. So now the next thing I need to do is, since this is kind of rotty and soft around here, I'm thinking maybe I can find a piece of FRP or something and stick it up underneath there just to give it something more solid to get started with. And since these things really aren't that well put together to begin with, any little bit that I do to reinforce it is probably going to help. I don't know why they have this kind of sanctioned as like a storage area. That's like the worst idea ever. If they're not going to reinforce the roof, it's just stupid. But the rest of the roof actually is looking pretty good. So this is my bad spot. So if I can get it handled, then the rest of it should just kind of come together. I've got all that dark mold and stuff underneath here where this old stuff didn't stick. I think that's where a lot of people have failures when they try to repair camper roofs. So I'm gonna have to scrub that off of there in order to get anything to stick to it. So I got my work cut out for me and not very many hours of daylight. So let's see what I can get done. All right, back here in the camper, we got this big old smushy spot in the ceiling that I'm gonna try to fix. And I got a bunch of stuff over here. We're just gonna put plywood over the top of it. So got some liquid nails, liquid nailed it on the board, cut it the width, cut the hole out. I'm gonna put it in the center and then cut my edge pieces on either side. I want the most support in the middle, and then put a cleat on the wall to hold the board. And I'm gonna pick the whole thing up, shove it up on the cleat, push it up, and then got my trusty staple gun. I'm gonna put a few staples in there to hold it until I can get some screws in. Hopefully it works. Yeah. All right, excuse me if I'm out of breath, but I put some more liquid nails on there so that at least there was liquid nails every 4 inches. And then I put staples. So the staples were at least about every 6 inches. And then I still got some flippity flop here. So I'm gonna come back with some screws, but it is bonded to the plywood. So I'm gonna get some screws and go ahead and see if I can't seat that. And then I may have to stick a stick down here to force that up while I screw it together. And then we're gonna go from there. Well, miracle of miracles. My screws grabbed some wood. So I screwed around the edges there and screwed around the edges here and back over here. And they all grabbed wood and sucked everything up nice and tight. So now we got a lot more solid roof there. So hopefully I can fix the stuff from on top and then we'll go from there. The next thing I'm gonna do, which may be foolish nonsense, is I took my piece I cut out and I used it as a pattern so that I can make a picture frame out of this leftover cedar boards. And I'm gonna raise that up just a little bit where that vent goes through. And then hopefully that'll help to keep and shed that water away from that so it doesn't leak. And I'm gonna hit this with a 45 to make sure that I don't have any edges that are gonna catch on there and tear. So that's the next step. So here's the plan in all of its glory. Nice little sloped edges, and then I'm gonna stick that on there. Yay. Okay, I think maybe this is gonna work. I got these boards under here. You can see where it starts to slope down at, but already it's definitely got a whole lot better slope to this. The only thing I have to worry about is possible punctures. So I have my friend, my auto leveler. So I'm gonna stick the tube up under there and squirt that into this area so that it inflates this a little bit and gives it a little bit more support there. But other than that, I've never done this before, but I kind of like it, and I almost don't know why the camper manufacturers don't do something similar. It would be real easy for them just to build a little thing that fits over the top of these holes that's got a slope to it that, you know, I mean, why not? But hey, here we are. All right, back to the drawing board. All right, I checked this old lid, make sure it fits. That one also fits. But I'm gonna use this kind of as a foam containment system in case it wants to leak out on me. And I put some tape underneath the holes to hopefully keep it from oozing out. And so we're gonna try it. And I don't have high hopes, but I have hopes. So we'll see what happens. All right, so this deal here has got, this is for the vent for the refrigerator. This no longer used because it's got like a little apartment refrigerator in there. And so it doesn't look like there's any problems with it. So I'm gonna go ahead and just leave it. And then I'm gonna cut a piece of styrofoam that fits inside this hole and then probably fasten that from the inside. And then that way it's not just bleeding air out the hole there where the air conditioner is running and all that. So we'll do that at some point here. Remove the hood on the AC unit here so the big cover comes off, and then, well, maybe it doesn't need, yeah, I guess it needs to. And then there's screws around the edge that hold this part on, and then this is the part that actually enters the cabin. And so the rest of this is basically, as far as I can tell, just sitting on the roof. So it's all full of leaves and stuff, so I'm getting rid of it with a leaf blower. That seems to work pretty good because I don't want to add more water to any of this stuff. So, and then it's got electrical components in it, so I don't want to get any of those wet. And I could use a thin comb, straighten out some of the fins, but it's not too bad shape. So we're gonna go ahead and put this cover back on, and then I can finish blowing off the rest of the roof and wait until this thing cures up over here, which looks like it's working out pretty good for, I mean, just slapping it together, it does it. And then once that's good and dry, then I can go ahead and start doing the roof seal and doing the vent seals and stuff. So yay. My foam's already set up, so unbelievable. So it definitely gave that over 3/4 inch lift all the way around. So I may need to add something extra to get this, to give this a slope all the way down. I'm not sure yet. That's the mystery of mysteries. So I've got some high density plastic that I guess I could build a little edge all the way around there, and then set the fan on top of that, and that would definitely give me enough lift where it wouldn't ever leak. So I'll have to putter that around in my mind a little bit and then come back to it. All right, got vent number 2. Got all the stuff scraped off, prepped and ready to remove that. So it's just a matter of time. Yeah, so I need the square drive in order to get that off, but it doesn't need to come off right this minute. So I'm just gonna leave it for a second because I don't have all the stuff to finish, and I'm gonna run out of daylight, so I'm gonna pick this up tomorrow. Yay, so I finished cutting out the plywood, got it cut to all the little angles and jigs and jogs and uneven and unsquareness to fit the ceiling. Worked out wonderfully. So now I can paint that or do whatever I want to make a wonderful ceiling. Yay. I'm back here at my drawing board. I needed a little bit more lift, so I'm using these plywood shims to, here's my pattern for where the hole is for my skylight, and I'm going to use these guys to lift me up just a little bit more. I probably need another set of those just now that I'm thinking about it. But anyway, I rounded the corners, and then I'm going to glue these to the wood, and then this isn't the greatest thing to screw into, but I think I'm going to coat this with some Titebond 2 glue just to make sure that it lasts just a little bit longer. If you keep everything dry, wood doesn't have a problem. It's when wood gets wet that it's a problem. So we'll try to do some preventative maintenance on it to make sure that it doesn't get wet. But I'm gonna try to get 10 years out of what I'm doing here. I've seen a lot of people do complete RV overhauls, and I don't know how long they get out of them, but my goal here is a 10-year deal on this, and then hopefully I'll be on to something else by then. But as far as tearing the whole roof off, which I could have done, I got other projects I got to do, so I'm just kind of like trying to get this finished. So anyway, enjoy. We're all out of wood glue. I got just a light coat of glue on this. I don't even think you can really see it hardly, but anyway, I watered it down so that I could paint with it, and I went over with 2 coats, and it seems like it soaked in pretty good. So now I'm just letting it dry, and then once that's dry, then I can start fixing that to the top of the camper. But while I'm doing that, I got one more roof vent that I got to take off, so I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of that thing now, because I'm gonna be sticking these things under post haste. Okay, this is something I like to call a disaster, and we've got really soft plywood up in here, all crumbly bumbly, yay. And the only reason that I'm doing this crazy fix that I'm doing is because if you see under here, this has got styrofoam, so it's got plywood glued to the styrofoam. So essentially basically using the integrity of the foam as my roof, and I'm not relying on the wood. And I just don't have the time or money to do a complete tear off and redo the whole entire roof, which is kind of what it needs. But this isn't something I'm like trying to stick a bunch of money into. I'm just trying to get it so that it'll work. And like I said, if I get 10 years out of it, I'll be super happy, and by then I'll be able to move on to something else. And so this is just a cheap fix, and the only reason I can do this cheap fix is because I have the styrofoam in there. So my little pieces are sitting down there drying. I'm gonna go ahead and bring those up here, and I think I might use some of that Gorilla Glue, because it doesn't mind the moisture and it'll expand and fill in the little gaps. And I'm gonna glue those strips of wood onto there with that. And then that way I'm not having to worry about trying to stick a fastener in there. And then that plywood gives me a little bit of grip for the screws. Most of the screws spun out when I tried to take them out. And this little tool right here is your friend. If you got a screw spinning out, you can stick it up against the side of the screw as you're unscrewing it and give it a little lift. Really, really helpful. So anyway, this is a mess. I can't even get that material off there without destroying it. So I'm gonna elect to leave it, and then I'm gonna seal it, and it's gonna be a miracle, you'll see. Okay, there's cool things and then there's awesome cool things. So this awesome cool thing right here, it says on the directions, lightly dampen one surface with water. Are you serious? What do I got here? Lightly dampened with water. Yay. So this stuff will dry with moisture, and that's one thing I like about it. Also, it expands and fills gaps, and I think it's styrofoam safe. It says styrofoam, so foam, glass, more. So to find a product that does all that is incredible. You can build boats out of this stuff. Miracle stuff. But it's messy, and so just be aware of that. So anyway, here we go. We're gonna glue these boards in here, and then I got my staple gun fixed, because you always have to have staple gun breakdown when you're trying to hurry. And I'm gonna get this stuck in there. All right, so I put some glue on the surface I wanted to apply that stuff to, lifted up all the little loose pieces, got some glue under it, then put a little glue on the board just to make sure I had enough there. And this stuff expands, so it'll fill cracks and things like that. And then I took a little water bottle and lifted each one of these up and then spritzed underneath them. And then I got my staple gun, shot a couple staples in there to hold it down while the glue's drying so that it doesn't expand and push the board up. So now we got a little bit of a rise here so that the water won't just collect right up next to the stupid vent, because as soon as this wood gets soft, it wants to sink, and as soon as it sinks, then the water collects. As soon as the water collects, it finds a little weep hole, and if it finds a weep hole, then it keeps putting moisture in there, and then it keeps sagging and it gets worse and worse and worse. So if we can just stop that process and keep it completely dry, we should be good and not have to replace the whole roof. And replacing the whole roof is just not an option right now. So that's where I'm at. All right, so let's move on with this cobbled up piece of stuff. All right, so this may have been a mistake, but I put some of this beetle tape underneath this to try to help just support that. And then since whatever, there's gonna be stress on there. And then you can see that the glue is expanding and working, so that's awesome. To keep it from just ballooning out all over the place, you can kind of take a tool or something and kind of knock some of the fuzz down off of it, because it just expands and expands and expands. So it's pretty cool stuff. It's kind of like great stuff, but it's more like glue. So anyway, I got my wood in there, and now I can start looking at my sealing process and get my flex seal up here and start working on that, since I got all that trash out of there. And I'm missing a hood, so I'm gonna have to wait on that one down there. I'm just gonna do everything else and come back and get that. All right, but this needs to be sealed, so it's gonna be a problem if I don't. Bye. You would think the manufacturers on these things would spring for some stainless steel hardware, but this thing is completely like rusted, crusted, and really hard to get out. So one of the reasons I like working by myself is because that way, when the drill is sitting up there on the roof, you can just reach up through the hole and grab the drill to pull it back down to try to get the screw out. And when you do, you can have your shirt slide down and stick your armpit into that wet glue. And I mean, if you're working with somebody, you know, you'd never have the opportunity to do that. So that's why you want to work by yourself as much as possible. Okay, so you got all this little peely backy stuff, and you're thinking to yourself, how in the heck am I going to get all that off of there without tearing the rubber? So got the little Leatherman tool file. Work that bugger across there. Peel right out. Ooh, a little hole. Then take the little file end and use that to clean up our rubber to get it ready for a new seal. Yay! Alright, Flex Seal's open, and already I can tell this is a pretty fantastic product. I mean, it's got good body to it, good texture, it tastes delicious. I'm gonna try to go underneath the lip of this with some of this and see if I can't get that to seal up underneath, and then hopefully I can not have as many problems with having to seal it for leaks and whatnot. So hopefully I can get it under there without making a huge mess. So here we go. All right, I got the edges all trimmed in, and then I found out it works good if you take rubber glove. Yeah, wear rubber gloves because crap gets all over your hands. But rubber glove and brush some into the seams, and then you take your finger and kind of spread it in like caulking, because it gets little air pockets and stuff in the tiny little holes, and that helps push all that air out. And then brush back over with the brush. So anyway, I got some butyl tape. I put that on this little seam here where the holes are at. I'm gonna go ahead and pop these in, and so that way everything will be sealed up, so in case it rains or whatever, then at least I'll have that part done. And I'm gonna try to roll the rest of this, but I got lots of trash blowing in here from you can't seem to do anything without the wind picking up and going 1,000 miles an hour, and I got hawks coming down, grabbing my chickens and taking off with them. I got dogs barking and tires squealing, and anyways, so here we are, having a great day up on the roof. I'm gonna stick this thing in here. All right, last hole right here where the awning goes. It tore that out. So took my friend Gorilla Glue, douched a bunch of glue down inside there, spritzed it with some water, took a stick, worked that all down inside that hole until it got it all up into the cavity. So now that'll foam out and expand and fill up the void inside there. And then when I get done with that, I'm gonna take a piece of strapping, take one of these screws out here, and then strap that up into here so that it holds that up so it doesn't keep falling apart. And then now that I have that hole filled, now I can fill it with some of the sealer. All right, so basically got one coat on the roof. Some places thinner than others, but I definitely want to come back and do another coat because there's some spots that need it. And I need to go around the AC unit a little bit, clean that up, and missed a little spot over there, so there's a few little missed spots. I want to try to get these edges again. Of course, there's bugs stuck in it. Yay. But yep, there's the basic procedure. I think I'll go ahead and drop this video, and then I can pick up later with the rest of the project.